Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a little uncomfortable with this mic. So, start. Right. Uh, as you know, my topic is this today. So, at the start, I would like to ask this question so the audience, all of you, can actually think while I'm talking. In case you find it not interesting, then you can actually think about this question. What is common in the life of Einstein and Picasso, who were actually contemporaries and who had seen two world wars? The idea of wars and sustainability after that comes out of a few things which I will touch today. And I think the solution lies in the way we educate at home, in schools, and beyond. I remember my high school principal, he used to ask this question to every graduating class. In fact, he used to ask every graduating class, so he asked us this question. How do we make this line shorter without touching it, or without erasing it? Well, we didn't know the answer even though our seniors knew it. They graduated. So the answer was, I'm sure most of you know that, draw a longer line against it. Now, I would like to take my talk further with these two, that the line on the left is me, and the shorter line now is the other. Now the question is, always when we do this kind of answering or striving, the question remains with, what is my intention behind this? Is my intention to make myself better, improve myself as I am, or make myself better or improve in relation to the other, or in order to make the other look shorter, as the questioner asked? So this raises further questions, is what causes this intention? Is this the nature? Philosophers have talked about biological nature as well as psychological nature. Can we do something about it? Or is it my conditioning? Is it my conditioning through education or a biological conditioning? We will explore some of these questions in this talk. And we have to keep in mind that Einstein and Picasso had seen two wars in the same century. Right. So this takes me to a further concept of competitiveness. The origin of this word competition comes from Latin, which means compare, care. My pronunciation may not be right, but that means actually to strive for. Oxford Dictionary defines competition or competitiveness as exactly the same way, to strive for winning or defeating somebody. It's not the exact definition, but the meaning is the same. So competition has two camps or two faculty of thought because of this very definition. Is one camp falls into anti-competition gang, and the others are pro-competition. Now, the people in the anti-competition camp actually take competition as a poison, even in schools, which is where you can see that if principal thinks sometime in school that if I don't have competition among students, what will I do? How will I move these kids to do things, do better? So, and that they think brings rivalry, jealousy, and validation for others. These kind of the side effects of competition, which actually cause problems. So, on the other side, the people in the pro-competition camp, they think that even the school principals in research I have seen in the interviews, they say that without competition, they take competition as the very survival for schools. If there is no competition, how will we move the whole energy of kids? So, and they also coined the word cooperation. They say competition and cooperation go together, especially in sports. To me, I fall on the anti-competition side. I'm biased towards that because I feel that anti-competition, I'm an anti-competitive person. So because the very reason is it brings a kind of fear fear comes from both sides, because the pro-competition people say the fear moves people. On the other side, the anti-competition side of people say that fear is something which damages creativity, which imagine. Now you can see that Bertrand Russell, he used to talk about this, and he said that because of the competition, the competitive mind, we overeducate the kids in schools and universities. They may not want to learn half of the things, but they have to learn everything because they want to actually go at the top of things, and then they're working very hard. And, and that actually is bringing the learner away from being present. And all creativity that happens in the present is postponed into the future. So this is the idea from the people in the camp of anti-competition. Right. So now question is, why do we have that competitiveness mindset? Actually, this is because of the promises that has been made. And these promises bring disappointment to many. One of them is that education is to make you successful. Now, again, the idea of success is very relative. A person can be successful in many ways. One can be not rich enough, but can be very satisfied with life. Is he successful? But in our society, in the world, a successful person is commonly seen as somebody who has a lot of money or who is rich. Sometimes we also talk about people like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett and all. They're very rich and they're very successful. We connect success with richness. So actually education, the definition of education is not only related to being successful, which is a utilitarian definition, which is a definition in the Oxford Dictionary, which means a process of teaching, learning, and training, especially in colleges and universities or schools, in order to improve knowledge and develop skills, which is basically moving towards the utilitarian objectives. But there is an older definition of education, which comes from Latin, mid-16th century, which means to take you from darkness to light, to provoke that flame in you so that you can find yourself. Well, they are not anti. These two definitions are not like against each other. You can still find yourself. Of course, if I have nothing and I don't even have basic needs satisfied, how can I actually reach that to that level where I start to look for myself? So that is a point here. This leads to another question, another promise, which is when you are at the top of the world, you will find. Well, you will find. I'm not sure how many people have reached at the top of the world and they could find what they were looking for. This is the promise. So these two promises actually keep one over others. So I'm actually always competing with myself, competing with the others at the same time in order to actually be successful in these two rights. I asked my son to draw a picture of a ladder. I explained him why I need it, and he drew this picture against a wall. But then, kind enough, he drew some plants on the top and some flowers. So, which actually is an idea, is that success is competition is like this ladder which takes you up and up and up actually, and you are looking for that top. You reach at the top someday, but I'm not sure what, because I've never reached that top, so I don't know what I could find. But you reach at the top, and then you will find. That's the promise. But then there is another picture. I asked him, can we make this ladder in a different way? And he drew this. And of course, there was no plants and no flowers in this. Probably because of his own experience. He's 14-year-old. And he has been promised that once you achieve higher grade, you will get this. And he says that every year I'm working very hard and I'm moving in a circle. It's never taking me anywhere. So, and the center of that circle is actually the idea of success. That is moving everybody in that circle. And the promise that you will be at the top one day and you will find. So this talk is about, are we going in the right direction? The second part, apart from competition in schools, is I suggest that the antidote to remove the or reduce, minimize the 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 bad effects, the side effects of competition is finding self knowledge. I suggest that we need to introduce the idea of self knowledge in the schools and universities. Actually, I am a hardcore follower of J. Krishnamurti and Bertrand Russell. They used to talk about this a lot, and even Russell said that up to the age of 6 we should develop character, which means vitality, courage, and sensitivity. And then after 6, we can develop intelligence. However, uh, those are there what were talked, and it's been 100 years since. I'm not sure how much we have been successful in developing self-knowledge in kids in schools. Maslow has given his hierarchy of needs. At the top is self-actualization. Well, let's see, because we don't know what happens when we reach self-actualization. But I would like to add on the top is, who am I? When I reach at that stage of self-actualization, I want to go beyond that. I want to find myself. Am I the one who is self-actualized, or am I somebody else? I am the one who remains as a survivor when everything else is taken away from me. My position, my money, my wealth, my everything. When I'm alone as I am, that is me. So do I still survive? Yes, I still survive. So that's me. How do I find? So in order to reduce the damages of competition and improve imagination and creativity in schools and universities, we got to focus on two things. One is attentiveness or attention, and sensitiveness, sensitivity. Actually, being attentive brings sensitivity. What is the meaning of attention? Now, in schools for hundreds of years, because of the factory model of education, uh, what has been taken as the key is the concentration. And we actually get confused between these ideas of concentration and attention. Concentration is focusing on something and taking, like an exam or a chapter or a book. But actually, being attentive means, it's like a history teacher when I was in junior high school was teaching about the wars in 1200 AD. But my mind was drifting everywhere because I was thinking, why do I need to know the wars in 1200 AD when I was facing the problems in the present life? And I was interested in the tree outside the class, or going out to play cricket. So if if I was asked to play cricket, I will be totally attentive to that game. But that's not concentration. Concentration is when you are actually drifting back and forth with different things. So the imagination and creativity can be sparked by being attentive. And when somebody is attentive, he goes to a river, as J. Krishnamurti says, that he sees a tree. He does not only see the tree there in a dark or a brownish tree with green leaves. He also sees the bird sitting on it. He also feels the river sound. He feels that's being attentive. When you become attentive to things, you start to develop certain kind of sensitivity. When you develop certain kind of sensitivity, you become less and less competitive. When you become less and less competitive, you move towards a better, sustainable world. Otherwise, there is no way we can move towards a sustainable world. The third world war is waiting. These are called aesthetics to develop. You may have heard people saying, especially my older friend who are in 70s and 80s, I wish I was a child again. Why? Because not that they want to be a child again, because they want to feel that sense of wonder which they had when they were children. You have seen the kids playing, they are so attentive, and they forget if things. Once they move to another game, they forget the previous one. So that is called being attentive. So if you want to feel that sense of the child, basically you can't go back in age, but you can develop in school. You can develop through being attentive. Another word is meditative. I don't want to use that highly used word meditation because that's been polluted by various things. Meditation doesn't mean sitting at one place. Meditation means being attentive, being sensitive to things, being aware. So this takes me to my final proposals to education, to schools and universities is, I would suggest that we minimize the competitiveness in schools. Well, of course, I don't like the idea of cooperation also, because without cooperation and competition, those two world wars could not have happened. So if you think that idea of cooperation is good, think about those countries who came together to go against the war against another country. So That is a cooperation. So cooperation and competition, there is a word in research called co-optation, combining these two words. So minimize competitiveness, teach and practice self-seeking, self-searching, self-knowledge from small age. Teach means even teachers should be practicing self-seeking. And that will take us to the last step of this loving and kind world. I believe so. And many philosophers, many in the past, enlightened beings have believed so. Uh, and these things should be made universally acceptable by some world body like United Nations or UNESCO. This takes me to, this is the debate between nature and nurture. This talk, TED talk, was excellently given by Irene Romero. And basically, I want to just finish this talk with one story, very short. There was a fire in a forest, and all the animals were almost gone. And there were only two left. One was a scorpion and a frog. I'm sure you have heard this. And so the frog says, "Can you show me the way to the sea?" The scorpion says, "I can, if you give me a ride on you." So frog says, "Hey, I will give you a ride, but you will sting me to death." He said, "Well, I will not, because if I do that, we'll both be dead." So, okay, there is an interest here. He said, "Come on, I agree, you jump on my back." So he jumped on his back. As soon as he jumped on his back, he sting the frog, and frog dies. Almost, at the time of death, he asked him this question: "Why will you sting me? We both condemned to death." He said, "That's in my nature." Now, the question of nature versus nurture was raised by Plato and Aristotle. They were at war on this. So, nurture means environment, conditioning. Can we, through education, the one we have, or through environment development of environment, context, be less of scorpions? Because what I mean is, can we change our nature? Scorpions cannot, but we can. Human beings can. We are supposed to be changing, becoming better. We are supposed to be evolving to become better, if you believe Darwin. So I think we should be moving towards that. And that's the last quote from Picasso. And he said, "It took me 4 years to paint like Raphael, but a lifetime to paint like a child." Of course, that's the sense of wonder of a child he also felt. Even Albert Einstein, around the time of his death, he says, "I've been trying to demystify the universe, but I failed. More I try to demystify, more deeper I go, more lost I became." And in the end, he said, "I would rather be a plumber in my next life." So basically, a scientist and an artist both actually felt the same wonder of a child when they were at the top of their life, the stage which was promised. Thank you so much.